This is the Dzogchen Sunday Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For multiple decades, I've spent about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each school of meditation so that you would not have to. It is Yoda Monday evening. Come, let us meditate like a Jedi after exploring the essence of Proto-Buddhism. Why do many mythologies explore a fall from grace? Ask an anthropologist, they'll tell you our Paleolithic ancestors enjoyed a culture that could be described as proto-communistic or matriarchal, where people were conditioned to be flexible, loving, rational, laid-back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, and kind. Sadly, approximately 13,000 years ago, human culture was turned on its head when our Neolithic ancestors were subjected to proto-capitalism, which could also be described as patriarchy, that conditioned people to be rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel. It conditioned people to be more like grumpy Mace Windu and less like groovy Qui-Gon Jinn. Perhaps that is why Sturgeon's Law reminds us that 90% of everything sucks. Thus, it is the suckiness of patriarchy that drives us to over-focus and over-analyze to such a degree that we exhaust our dorsolateral and medial prefrontal cortices to the point of triggering our amygdala, the seat of both anxiety and aggression. Fortunately, the front of our brain is not the only part of our central nervous system. Consider, if you will, our spinal cord, which functions as the core of our autonomic nervous system. When we cooperate with it passively, not only do we calm the anxiety and aggression of our amygdala, but we gently stimulate our anterior cingulate gyrus, which functions as both the hub of our mirror neurons, the seat of empathy. Sounds great. Sign me up. How do we do that? Hello, Seymour. Hello, the dining expert. Every time we inhale, whether we know it or not, we have evolved to automatically access the middle bit of our spinal cord, which functions as the core of our sympathetic nervous system, which has evolved to help us to vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly notice all mind's antics of seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, smelling, and the like, including the full spectrum of human emotions, intentions, cognitions, recollections, and imaginings. All manner of phenomena. From the external to the internal, from the physical to the mental, from the pleasurable to the painful, from the interesting to the boring, from the convenient to the arduous, from the glorious to the grotesque. But what are we to do with all this stuff that we notice? Every time we exhale, whether we know it or not, we have evolved to automatically access both the tippy top and the very bottom of that same spinal cord, which together, working as a team, function as the core of our parasympathetic nervous system. It has evolved to help us to physically relax and mentally release during our exhalation to such a degree that which we watched during our previous inhalation could fleetingly feel less stressful, less permanent, less defining, and as non-graspable as a vast, empty void. A simile is only as useful as it is relatable. Therefore, we must ask the question, what? What is a real-world example of a non-graspable, vast, empty void? How about the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which although could look tantalizing to the eye, could feel non-graspable to the hand? And so we see that whether we are talking about emptiness or whether we are talking about no self, we are simply working with figures of speech to help us to communicate that which is latent within every exhalation. What if enlightenment was as simple as mastering the Buddha's Eightfold Path? But what is mastery? Humans are mastery machines. As children, we mastered using the toilet instead of soiling our nappies. We mastered brushing our teeth, tying our shoes, riding a bike, as well as reading, writing, and arithmetic. All mastery means is that we get so good at something that we're able to practice it spontaneously, habitually, easily, and effectively. Here's the cool thing. Simply by sitting and breathing and watching and resting every 12 hours or so, we automatically master the remaining 6 folds of the path. The more we sit and breathe and watch and rest, the more we can't help but notice that things change, notice that things seem less defining and even less solid. The more we sit and breathe and watch and rest, the more we cannot help but practice kind intention, kind communication, kind conduct, and even kind commerce. Forsaking cruelty and competition, and instead embracing compassion and cooperation. The more we sit and breathe and watch and rest, the more our choices, utterances, and deeds flow, not from contrived calculations, not from wild scatterness, but instead from love's deeply centered spontaneity, which is known by many names, such as right effort, or effortless effort, or doing without doing, or wu wei, or going with the flow, or being in the zone, or expedient means. What is the key that unlocks the vault of such spiritual treasures? You guessed it. Simply sitting and breathing and watching and resting. This evening, let us begin with mindfulness and meditation of clarity and letting go. It's really easy. As we passively notice air enter our nostrils, silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb, watch. As you passively notice air exit out your nostrils. Silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb, rest. Remember, we do not hold our nostrils with active focus, or that transforms us into cranky bastards. Nobody wants that. Instead, we treat our nostrils the way a piano student treats a metronome, merely holding it in passive peripheral awareness. The moment you have a specific question about the philosophies or techniques that support mindfulness and meditation, do not hesitate to type your question in great detail in the chat window, for I tend to check for questions about once every 13 minutes or so. I forgot to mention, in the second to the final passage of the Buddha's discourse on the four bases of mindfulness, he explained that one could master his path in as little as 7 days. Though this practice is easy, it is potent. As potent as an innocent and translucent tumbler filled with tequila that is all that stands between you and remarkably bad decisions. As we rest in our exhalation, whatever tranquility or turmoil we watched during our previous inhalation could feel as if it was melting into the simplicity of just emotion. Not something to be pushed away or chased after, but just something to be watched and relaxed into. The great irony is um, simply by noticing and relaxing into our greatest greed or our greatest hate renders it incapable of pulling our puppet strings. You have taken your first step into a much larger world. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. For Meditate Like a Jedi is made possible thanks to the generosity of viewers just like you. In approximately 11 1/4 hours, I would very much like to return to lead tomorrow's dawn practice of Meditate Like a Jedi. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.